Hi guys, my name is Valerie and I'm a real Prague guide, and today we have a special video for you because we are going to be talking about one of the bloodiest executions in Czech history that happened right here on the Old Town Square on the 21st of June 1621. And today is also special because this year marks the 400 years anniversary since that bloody execution happened. And as you can see, many people on the square are about to see it because they're going to be reenacting it. But before we talk about that, let's mention two events that happened before that execution. This first event happened right here in the old royal palace in the Prague Castle, and it is called the Defenestration of 1618, when two representatives of the Holy Roman Emperor and one random dude that was just filling in for somebody in the office were thrown out of the window by the angry crowd of Czech estates. Well, all three of them luckily survived, apparently because they fell into the pile of horse poop. That little comical defenestration started one of the bloodiest wars in European history, called the 30 Years' War. To say that it was a war between Catholics and Protestants is a stretch, but we're just gonna go with it today. So the hopes of the Protestant Union were crushed during the Battle of White Mountain. I know it's a very poetic name. Unfortunately, there is nothing poetic about it because the Protestants or Czech estates lost it in just 2 hours. And their king, Frederick V of Palatinate, learned about it while he was still finishing his meal in the Prague Castle. The lunch was great. It's time to kick those Catholic asses. Oh, sire, we've lost the battle. Okay, farewell Prague, you've been kind to me. Where are you going? Your motto is I don't budge. Kurva. People in charge of the executions were the King's Committee, headed by Charles von Liechtenstein, afterwards nicknamed the Bloody Governor. You can guess why. Nowadays, in front of his palace on Malostranské Square, you can find 27 boundary stones that represent every person he sentenced to death in 1621. Let's go back to the Old Town Square. In Czech history, the execution of 1621 is known as the Bloody Theater. Why? Because even for that time, it was unusually brutal. You might ask, how did King Ferdinand allow all of that to happen? And to be fair, he was hesitant up until the night before the execution was carried out, and unfortunately he decided to go with it. But the poor thing couldn't sleep the whole night. I know. He later decided to go to salvate his soul for a pilgrimage somewhere in Austria, but I'm not sure it helped. It's also important to say that some of these people had opportunities to leave before they were executed, but none of them did for multiple reasons. First of all, many did not believe that they would be actually executed. That was a mistake. Others thought that they had good enough connections to get away with it, and the rest just did not want to leave their lands and property behind and clung to them for their dear life. All of the suspects were interrogated. They were asked 236 questions. I know, that's way more than on my state exam, but then again, my life did not depend on it. You see what I did there? So finally, to what everyone was waiting for. The execution started at 5 in the morning, when 27 rebels were led to the scaffold that was decorated with black fabric, candles, and a wooden cross. This nightmarish theater was led by the executioner Jan Midlař, who brought 4 swords for beheadings with him. We don't know much about Midlař. There is a rumor, for example, that he wanted to be a doctor before he became an executioner, or there is a story that he fell in love with a woman who was sentenced to death for killing her own husband. And to make it smoother for her, he decided to help the executioner and later stayed in the profession. While being a butcher requires a certain degree of misanthropy, Midlař apparently did not want to execute the rebels, because first of all, he wasn't Catholic either, and second of all, one of his pals was among them, Jan Jesenius. Jan Jesenius was a rector at the Prague University, and he's famous for performing the first public autopsy in the city. He was also a diplomat that was representing the Czech estates. He was captured by King Ferdinand and made to swear that he is not going to help the rebels. Unfortunately, he broke his promise, and for that reason, he received the most brutal punishment. His friend had to rip his tongue off, behead and quarter him. I know, not only that, Midlař was also handsomely paid to do that. He received 634 piles of Czech grosz enough to buy a house at that time. Can you imagine that somebody comes up to you and says, I'll pay you 100 million Czech crowns if you kill your best friend and another 26 people?
Would you do it?
I mean, depends on which friend. Anyway, the bloody theater took a long time, but even after the executions were over, they thought show must go on, and put 12 heads of the executed into the wire baskets and onto the tower of the Charles Bridge for 10 years. Nobody knows where the heads were buried afterwards, but some speculate that it was either in the Teen Church or the St. Salvator nearby.
Prokurátor Přibík Jeníšek z Újezda zahajuje exekuci rebelů odsouzených za vzpouru proti císařskému majestátu.
The day was coming to an end, but it was only the beginning of the recatholization process. Hundreds of Protestants and supporters of the uprising against Habsburgs were exiled and their property was confiscated. The money went to the crown and to the pockets of people supporting it.
So how was it, Valerie?
It was okay. I thought it would be more brutal because you know how during the times of Shakespeare, when they were performing the great tragedies in the Globe Theatre, they were using the pig's blood to fake human blood, basically. They were hiding it like in the sacks under clothes, and when the actor would be stabbed, it would splash on the people in the front rows. So yeah, I hoped it would be something like this. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you liked our today's video. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give us a like, and we'll see you next week. Bye!